Hi, I'm Kim Wood, spiritual leader and transformation expert, and I would love to tell you all about my True KLT world. It's all about the know, like, trust factor. In business, in marketing and sales, this is something that's been around for decades. And so you've probably heard of it. The KLT or the know, like, trust. Your customers need to know you, like you, trust you in order to want to work with you. It makes so much sense. A customer's not going to buy from you unless they know you. They're not going to really connect with you unless they like you. And they're not going to really be like a rabid fan and refer other people to you unless they trust you. And depending on what type of service or product you have, they might really have to trust you because you might be doing things like on a more intimate level, or like they might be instilling or you might have to invoke their trust because they are instilling confidence in you, because they are saying, I'm a little bit vulnerable here. I need to tell you some things that are confidential, or that are maybe a little bit too close to home, or maybe I wouldn't want them to be revealed to anybody else. And so, of course, the trust makes sense. In my True KLT world, I flip that. I literally invert the KLT, and I say that you need to know, like, and trust yourself. And that is first and foremost. And when you think about it, it makes so much sense, because the more you know yourself, the more you like yourself, and the more you trust yourself, of course, your clients and your fans and your prospects are going to be attracted to that. It's going to be very appealing to them. Brené Brown talks about, self-awareness and vulnerability in leadership, and she's absolutely right. There is something so incredibly impactful when you allow yourself to have that knowing. That's at that first level. That self-awareness is key. But then there's another level of that. There's self-assuredness. You actually are, authentically you, and you are embodying that. And then at the base level of this, there's absolute inner authority. You walk the walk, talk the talk. You know yourself instinctively and intuitively. This is really getting all to the inner knowing. And so what's required? There's silence that's required. There's reflection that's required. There's self-discovery. There's a little bit of self-analysis. You might even go and take some personality tests. You've probably heard of Myers-Briggs, but there's the Enneagram. You can also get into the more spiritual world. You could do things with astrology, with your natal chart, and really get to know yourself at the pure soul level. That's what I do. And that way you can shed all the expectations of others and really align with your true life purpose. And then you could look at human design. That's another tool that we're using. And that's a little bit more known in the marketplace because it's a little bit easier to grasp. Same with those 16 personality types with Myers-Briggs. It's been around for so long that it's almost commonplace. And the Enneagram, there's 9 types. When you get into the astrology, you're getting to some of these other tools that you can use for that awareness and that knowing. It gets a little bit complicated. You want to go to an expert and get that interpreted for you so that you can follow its guidance. But think about, those are external tools that I'm just allowing you to open your mind to, because this is all about the mind. This is having an open mind and being curious and saying yes to the importance of self-analysis and self-awareness and self-assuredness, because you do want to get to your inner authority. Because think about this, when you know yourself intimately, others can know you, but also you know where you end and where they begin. You know exactly what it is that you want. You know how to align with it. You're purposeful. You can make decisions on a snap. You're laser guided about your goals. You can be committed to your own growth and your success. That's on the know. That's just the know part. What about the like part? The like part starts with self-care. Because think about this, how we demonstrate that we like ourselves is by taking care of ourselves. And that is on the physical level, on the emotional level, on the mental level, and the spiritual level. And so when I do self-care with my clients and when I do it in my groups, I give 80 options on ways to take care of yourself. And I do it around those four levels that I just talked about: the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And I do it in a yin fashion and a yang fashion. And so, for those of you that may not be familiar with what those two terms, it means the left brain and the right brain, or it means very much taking action and going out and generating and producing and creating, or the receiving and the quieting and the reflecting and the going inward and meditating. Both of those types of activities are required because there's a rhythm and a cadence to life that's just natural. It's one of the universal laws. And when you're aligned with that, you are aligned with opportunity and abundance and prosperity. And I'm just talking about the like. I haven't even gotten to the trust yet. And I'm just talking about the first layer of the like. So self-care, you want to have options. So many times that if I pick up a deck about self-care, a deck of cards or a book, I'm searching for others who are doing this in a wider, definition, and it's not easy to find. You typically hear, if someone's talking to a woman about self-care, they say go take a bath or go get your nails done. If someone's talking to a man about self-care, they say go golfing or go, throw a ball or go take a drive. Those are great. There's nothing wrong with those options. It's just they're too narrow. They're just not wide enough for people. We're all unique and we have so many different personality types. If we can have 16 personality types in Myers-Briggs, why don't we have 16 options at the very least for self-care? So I've expanded that to 80. And I've expanded it also too. They go by like how much time you want to commit to yourself, because you want to have some of those quick and easy things, but then you want to have some of those deeper and more impactful items to choose from. And then we go into self-love, because self-love is really, that's like the big kahuna, right? So that's where you're really deepening. That's where you're really getting to the gooey goodness. And so we can start out giving some, tools for the mind to continue to keep it open. We can give some tools for the heart to really make that wide open, and then give tools for the will to actually help you take action. Because there's a beautiful formula here with everything that I do. I do it on the mind, heart, will level, and I do it in that yin and that yang fashion, because that's the wholeness of life, and you want to have all of those things open for you. And so talking about, the like and continuing on this, there is self-esteem too. Because think about that. Once you're taking care of yourself and you're gaining that confidence and you're dipping your toe into self-love, which I'll revisit when I talk to trust, because it goes along both, it's casted in both, then you have more courage, and you're braver, and you have a different like walk even, and you look at, I just put my shoulders back, right? You have a different posture. You are entering the world in a more confident way. You are then engaging with your clients more confidently. You're engaging with your loved ones and your family and even yourself. So that is really critical, because you want to get into your inner power. You want to absolutely have this beautiful rhythm that you understand your own power definition. It is so unbelievably critical for your success, your continued success, and your continued growth. Because think about it. Think about as you have that dream of what you want to do in life, and you can see yourself maybe standing on a stage. I'll put you there, because public speaking is a trigger for people. And so I'm talking about power, right? And I'm talking about really, really being confident. And so you picture yourself, you're like, I've written a book, I'm going to then speak in front of thousands. And in your dream state, of course you say yes. However, what about actually making it happen for yourself? What about feeling confident enough and feeling powerful enough to make that dream come true? This is what we're talking about here. This is why this is so important. Then we get to the trust level. And in the trust level, that's where you have, I'm going to start with that self-love, because I talked about that spanning both the like and the trust. Self-love is key. It is so incredibly important. I'm pausing here because the import is almost indescribable. You cannot love another more than you love yourself. So think about this. There's a lot of people that I talk to that are in the people pleasing and in that caregiving mode. And caregiving is wonderful in the nurturing, nourishing way, as long as it's nurturing and nourishing the person who's doing it. When it gets out imbalanced, however, that caregiver is maybe, or that people pleaser is maybe overdoing it, is stepping out of their power stances, demonstrating that they don't really like themselves, and they're not actually being loving to themselves because they're giving themselves over to another. Think about that. You could even do that in business, right? You could, if you're in the coaching world or in the service provider, you could be over, in that kind of servitude mode and just be like over generating and over producing, over creating for your clients. That's unsustainable. So I've put this in the love. You can only love another as much as you love yourself. But then I put it in business as well because it spans every area of your life. The more you love yourself, the more you can love others. The more you love yourself, the more you understand how to love others. So it's fascinating. So I use tools like I've made up, from the Greek definition, there are 6 ways to love, and so I've made assessments around that. So my clients and people in my groups can take those assessments and figure out which ways they are actually strong in loving and which ways they are not. Now we have this awareness, again, it's always mind, heart, and will. Now our mind has this awareness and it can open itself, and then we can open ourselves to further pursue those areas that need improvement. Because we all have them, and just saying yes to that is the first step. And then once we do, we want to be able to traverse a path here with some guideposts to determine how it is we're doing. And then we get to the prosperity piece, because honestly, prosperity is tied to trust. So it's really interesting the way this works. So when I work with my clients, a lot of times, of course I talk about KLT, and of course we're doing all this work, and we get to this point where we're now at the pinnacle of their top point of wherever they've been in from a success definition, whatever that means. And since I'm talking about prosperity, I'll put it in the money world. So potentially they're mid 6 figures and they're going to 7, or they're mid 7 figures, they're going to 8, and they top out. And they're looking around, they're saying, why did I just top out? It's just like the ceiling that I just keep hitting. Most likely it is a trust issue, which always fascinates me. And so when I'm working one-on-one and in my intimate groups, my society and my circle and my mastermind, I actually go in and we do healing around that. So we may go down the ancestors, because it might be something that's been preconditioned. It may be conditioned for you that's been generational and you just haven't been aware of it and you hadn't run into it yet. Or it might actually be from a soul DNA perspective, so we go in and cover that as well, and then we repattern. And this is self-love. I recognize where I am in my conversation with you. It is self-love, but I'm in the trust world, and I'm relating it to prosperity. And bar none, when you've topped out and you've just reached and hit a level and you just can't get by it, it's going to be a trust issue. And I'm talking about that self-love piece. Going then deeper, it's self-worth. Just is. You just get to that deeper level where now maybe you've gotten some rhythm and some cadence for some confidence, but am I worthy? I hear from so many of my CEOs that when we really get deep and we really get into intimate conversation, they say, I have imposter syndrome, or really teasing that out. I then push past that and I say, but what's really going on? And it comes to like, who am I? I have this much success. I have this much abundance. Who am I to want more? And then, I can flip it and say, who are you not to? Right? And we talk, I usually have to enter it through the philanthropic conversation and say, but look at what you could do and look at how you could give. And when we get past that, then it becomes a choice if that's what you want to do, or if that person wants to do with their abundance. But up until that point, there is a worthiness piece to this. And again, it doesn't have to be, at the time I start my business, or when I make my first million. It's not that. It's different for everyone. Because at the end of the day, this last piece of this in the trust area is you want to have inner peace. You want to be able to have ease and freedom and to be able to let go of the judgment of others or the perceptions of others. You want to be walking your walk, talking your talk, and exactly however it is that you do that, and whatever's natural to you, without any familial, cultural expectations, any familiar conditioning, any social norms being put upon you. You want to be purely, authentically, and bravely, and at the core, you. Authentically you. So the true know, like, trust world is made up of a few components. I talked a little tiny bit about my one-on-one work and a little tiny bit about my intimate group programs, but I walked you through what the world looks like from the methodology piece. But I also have a protocol that's a healing protocol, and I also have a university. And so we can come at this in whatever appetite that you have. So if you want to take a small bite and take a course, you can do that. If you want to just jump right in and work one-on-one, you can do that. If you want to dip your toe and maybe kind of look to see like what pieces of the methodology there are, I have those parsed out in a variety of ways. There's so many different ways that you can, either jump in or participate by nibbling and grazing along the sides, because again, everybody's unique. I've made the world big enough that, I've given you the definition, talked a little bit about the methodology, mentioned how to work in the world, mentioned the university, the university surrounded by, intuition development and magical power development and abundance achievement and success in business and leadership, just giving you the high level topics. My healing protocol, I actually have a certification program where I take healers through so that they can be certified in doing this work, because it is there's a wide swath here. It's a combination of oracle, it's a combination of healing, it's a combination of strategy. And so that program is 9 to 12 months, depending upon how much experience a person has within the realm of all of those areas. So it's really exciting in my True KLT world. I've got to tell you, it is just a gift that keeps on giving, and you have so many different ways to participate in it, and I invite you to join me.